Good evening and welcome to the City of Montgomery City Council meeting for June 9th, 2026. It is exactly 6 p.m. I'd like to call this meeting to order. With that, Ms. Bevan, we have everyone present. We have a quorum except Mr. Olson. He will not be present this evening. I'd like to ask that all of you turn your phones off or on vibrate or silent so that we are not disturbed during this business meeting. And if you please stand for the invocation by Mr. Donaldson and then the Pledge of Allegiance.
Heavenly Father, thank you for this day because this is the day that you've made and we shall rejoice and be glad in it. Father, we thank you, Father, that we're here to serve the citizens of your country. Father, help us to do what's wise and just in your sight. And we thank you, Father, for this day. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the United States flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
First item of business on your agenda is the citizens' comments, and we do have one comment. So I would like for Mr. Donaldson to come to the podium for a slice of Amish, and he's going to speak about you're thrilled to hear.
Good evening, I'm Raleigh Johnson, Slice Amish here in Montgomery. We just felt we wanted to stop by tonight. First of all, to tell you briefly how the first Lone Star Market went this past Saturday, and to thank the city for the beautiful plaque that we got that they presented to us. It was a pretty amazing event. So our goal is what we're doing, I'm going to be very brief, is the city continues to build, get better with McGowan Street. Our goal is to make this first market Saturday full to capacity. And if you can believe it, I can see it's going to happen. We're getting so much interest from people all over that saw this happening. They're just really thrilled to be a part of it. So we really appreciate all the city has done to help us with this. We're really excited about it. I'll have Debbie come up. We're so proud to have her with us. She's the brains of the operation, but no, she got the wife back there, Barbara. But she can briefly tell you quicker than I can what we accomplished for that event, and we'll just continue to keep building. So, Debbie?
So we doubled in size this month. We were able to, we typically run 20, 25 vendors. We had 20 regular vendors and almost 40, 20 additional new vendors. We've created a baked goods area, so all of those people who make their baked goods and produce, you know, all those yummy goodies we all want, they actually have a designated spot. We've got signs that will direct people into our baked goods area. We had a little bit of an issue with the rain, but that didn't stop anybody. We just tromped around in the rain. Next month, I've already got, for the July, our typical July market, I have already 30 vendors signed up, and we'll have additional vendors on top of that that will be our, what we consider Freedom Fest type vendors, which are not our regulars, but will bring that many more people. We probably doubled the number of people visiting the market Saturday, and that was just with the little bit of marketing that we did. So we're gonna, you know, obviously we'll expand our marketing. Slice Amish has been amazing when it comes to our marketing. Just expect much bigger things. Everybody's coming out of the woodwork interested in being part of the market. So I'm really excited that we can do this for the community. And I hope the community will come out and just embrace what we're doing and buy all the baked goods and buy all the stuff. So everybody wants to come back as a vendor.
So both of y'all smile and enthusiasm tells us everything we need to know. So great job.
Great, thank you.
Good job. agenda is presentation. Number 5, proclamation honoring 2026 Lake Creek softball team. Myself, Coach Carter here, and some girls, come on up. We've got a proclamation you've been like Okay, proclamation honoring Lake Creek softball team. Whereas the 2026 Lake Creek softball team made school history by winning the state championship title for the 4th time in 5 years. And whereas the Lions state title with 40-1 record as UIL 5A Division II softball championship. And whereas on Friday, May 29, 2026, the team triumphed in a thrilling 6-5 win against Brewer High School for the state championship title. Whereas the student athletes of the Lake Creek softball team have also excelled in the classroom, balancing rigorous academic responsibilities with the demands of championship level athletics. And whereas the Lions have served as role models for younger athletes in the community, inspiring the next generation to pursue excellence in sports, academics, and character. And whereas this remarkable season further cements Lake Creek High School as a powerhouse in the Texas high school softball, contributes to the proud athletic tradition of Montgomery, Texas, and whereas this extraordinary accomplishment is a testament to the team's resilience, dedication, and unity, as well as the unwavering support leadership of head coach Candace Parker. And whereas the accomplishments of the 2026 Lake Creek softball team have brought immense pride to their school, their families, alumni, and this whole entire community. Now, therefore, I, Sarah Countryman, Mayor of the City of Montgomery, Texas, do hereby honor and recognize the 2026 Lake Creek softball team for their success in being UIL 5A Division II softball state champions. The City of Montgomery City Council encourages all residents to join us in recognizing and celebrating the outstanding achievements of these student athletes. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the official seal of the City of Montgomery, Texas to be affixed this 9th day of June 2026. Again, congratulations. Item number 6 on your agenda, presentation and discussion regarding the public and improvement district bid. Are you doing too?
I'm doing just fine. How about y'all? For the record, my name is James Gilley with U.S. Capital Advisors, representing the city as your financial advisor. Happy to be here this evening.
I'll give you a little intro.
Give me a start, please. Thank you.
For the council, I invited him here. You know, we've had bid discussions. He's our advisor, and what I wanted him to do is just touch on how bids work, how the responsibilities of our city are with the bid, how this affects us, how it does not affect, you know, the kind of basics of it. We're looking at putting a workshop together with a developer that wants to put his bid in. We've already created the bid legally, so this is just a discussion for your education of how bids work and what we might see in the future.
The bid that was approved a few years ago, that development agreement has expired. Does the bid expire due to that development agreement expire?
The development agreement didn't actually expire. It is the escrow agreement that expired.
Okay.
But they're asking for changes to the development agreement, so we also can look at changes in the development agreement.
Okay. Thank you.
And we have already established a new escrow, so we're covering that base already.
Well, I'm happy to proceed however you'd like. I can try to briefly go through the presentation, some of this information you may already be familiar with.
So I think, Mr. Glazer's truly new to council, and just to set the table so that we all hear the same message, if you wouldn't mind just kind of explaining from 30,000 foot what a pit is, what does it do, why is it advantageous to, 1, the city, 2, the residents, 3, the developer, and what kind of impact it will have on the community and all of those entities.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, a public improvement district, a PID, is just a tool available to cities and counties just for development. And so, an advantage of a public improvement district is that it's a designated area within a political subdivision, and assessments can be levied on the individual lots within the district. And so those assessments, they're tied to the lot, they're tied to the property, and so that revenue can be used to fund improvements that directly benefit the homeowners or the landowners within the district. So it's a way to facilitate development without charging the rest of your residents. So any people in the city of Montgomery that live outside of the district, they're not impacted. Their taxes aren't going up as a result of this. So it's a way to for the people who are benefiting from the improvements to fund those improvements.
Yeah, so the group, so for instance, this development, when they collect those taxes, they basically, that money goes back into those improvements and not spread across the city, nor do the residents of the city carry any burden of that individual, particular pit.
Only within that district, the people who own property within that district are paying those assessments.
And these people are aware of this, buying this property that's disclosed, or not just in my presence.
It tends to be agent, the real estate agent that they have this year.
That's exactly correct. You're touching on something that sometimes it may not be as with a neon sign disclosed, but it's very important that the real estate agent would disclose that up front.
Is it similar to Melrose? I mean, almost for local schools, or I don't know if you're familiar with Melrose. It's just added taxation for certain communities to pay for schools, but it sounds like we're paying additional taxes for roads or whatever infrastructure for this district.
Yeah, so those assessments can be used to fund a large number of, a wide variety of different kinds of improvements. The second page shows what those are. They're landscape bounds, amenities, signage, roads, utility infrastructure, sidewalks, things like that, transportation. So it's a pretty broad scale of items that can be financed.
In the development agreement, is there any kind of verbiage that can be added on that makes it mandatory that the prospective buyer is totally aware of how much the charges is?
I think so. That's an excellent question. It's a very real concern that that could affect some marketability of houses that are going on for sale. It's kind of like an extra tax. It's subordinate to property tax.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a development outside the city limits that some of us probably watched. We created homes. I have personal friends that purchased homes in there, and their home they bought for $465,000. The MUD taxes was not disclosed how all that worked, and then next year they went from a $300 figure a month mortgage to over $5,000 because of all the taxes coming up, and a MUD increase, and so it priced them out of their home. And now their home is worth less than it was when they purchased it, which is not an ideal situation at all. So the reason I bring that up is because I hear a kid and I see that scenario and I'm like, oh gosh, we providing that scenario for the potential residents in our city that purchase a home in this district.
At least in this specific case, at least the documents that we have now, the maximum assessment per property is $2,000 a year, just to give you a...
So that means it can go up $2,000 a year, or that's all it is? Okay.
Can't be anywhere than 2,000. You divide that 2,000 divided by
12
depends on how they set up their mortgage or whatever they do. But
And for how long is that? Is that a time period or is it?
most bids are usually set up in 30 years, but that's why it's spread out over such a long period of time. It depends a lot on the cost of what those improvements are. This particular development is water,
Sewer, roads, and, you know, a lift station, and that may be being built now by the developer. So this is where our development agreement is going to be important to know exactly what the dollar amount is.
Mayor, you brought up an excellent point that with the difference between a MUD and this public improvement district is a MUD is a competing political subdivision, you know, right on your boundaries. But the public improvement district is largely controlled by the city. So I think the city council appoints the PIT board members, and so
We do.
I believe so.
They're not voted on like a MUD is?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
we don't necessarily have to have a bid committee. I mean, because we're small, we can do that through city council. But what you generally have is a representative third party that represents us in the bid to control some of that.
So an advantage for the city is we're having the money, the taxes are additional taxes for the people that live there, so it's not on the city. I'm just saying this just for clarification.
Yeah, I mean, use the proper terminology because that's where it gets a little fuzzy in there. It's really an assessment, not a tax.
Okay.
That's the true terminology for it. And we don't have a lot of controls, but what we do have controls over is the total dollar amount of the project. You know, if this developer is building it in stages, and they don't have to take out huge amount of debts, you know, all at once. They don't have to pay for any debt they haven't taken out. So if they set a cap on the assessments, it's an assessment of 2,000 divided by 12 is what they're, you know, adding into their standard tax bill.
It has no financial issue one way or the other. The
city's not responsible for it, and if you want to know the reality of it, the bids that get in trouble do all of the infrastructure and create this big debt. You know, the market slows down, they can't get enough house tops to pay the debt, end up going bankrupt, the property sits there until somebody else buys it, and then they kind of get into that. That's really the risk. I'm not saying that's going to happen here, but I mean but it's, again, not the responsibility of the city.
But it has happened.
Yeah, it does happen.
And is that assessment going to be $2,000 a year to build up a bank, or is it going to be, how is that communicated to the?
That is in the agreement that was set up originally. Now, we're going to reassess that. We're also working with engineers to get new pricing on everything that they want to do. So the dollars are going to look different than 2 years ago. So there's some calculations that I think you guys are working on that now, aren't you? Yeah. I didn't mean to interrupt.
One way to think of it is it's an imperfect analogy, but it's kind of like a homeowners association where everybody's paying into this pool, but if you're not in the homeowners association, you have nothing to do with it. But the dues from the HOA go to pay for maintenance and things like that. So it's not affecting anybody outside of the district.
So is it, if I lived in the mid, I would want to have a voice of how those dollars are spent, if it's going to be on the library or a jungle gym or some improvement on sidewalks. So having council over, and there's a council person that doesn't live in that district.
It's really, the council, you want this? The council's role in this is issuing the debt and creating the bonds, setting those kind of things. Really management over how this debt is structured, what the payment setups are going to be, you know, if it's a 30-year, that's really the only part, not much what. The developer can do what they want to do. And in this case, you know, at least what I see, engineers, I mean, we're talking about real infrastructure, roads, water, sewer, nothing else that I've seen.
And so if I'm hearing you correctly, the city owns these roads, right? And then the roads have potholes. This district will pay for those potholes and not come out of the general fund or the fund for making public works. Like, how does that work?
No, once the development is done and we are built out and we take the roads as a city, then they can become our biggest problem. It's really a financial tool to build the roads in the first place. Very similar to what MUDs do with, you know, it's just a financing tool that they're using to, rather than like a 380 agreement or any of those tools, they all kind of work similar.
Mr. Gilly, is it your opinion that PIDs work, don't work, dangerous? I mean, how would you describe them?
Well, I think it's like anything else. There's benefits and there's trade-offs. Again, we've stated the benefit is that people who live within the city are the only people who are bearing the burden of those improvements. Another benefit, it puts a little bit of the risk on the developer, because typically the developer is the one who owns the lots. And so they have a motivation they're paying those assessments, so they have a motivation to turn those houses out, get them sold. So it kind of lights a little bit of the fire. I think the risks are discussed that, you know, there could be a marketability issue. Somebody says, well, I don't want to pay city taxes, county, school, and MUD, or I guess maybe MUD necessarily, but, and this PID assessment. So part of that is the city needs to scrutinize the proposed assessment, and there's something in the financial analysis, we look at the tax rate equivalent, so what that assessment would be as a dollar tax. And you look at the tax stack, the city tax, county tax, school, and then that tax rate equivalent. And if that's you know, $1.50 or just $2.75 per hundred, that's, you know, is that outside the market for the area? That's something that's kind of a metric you use to look at to say, well, is this going to be a successful development? You know, I suppose a large part of it is that you really want to make sure that you're comfortable with the developer, that there's a lot of due diligence and research into their operations. How confident are you that they'll follow through with what they say and can deliver?
I was like, I'm nervous for this developer. This is like it's 6, 7 different builders that she's going to bring in. And so it makes me nervous.
That the home buyer will be aware of all of this.
Absolutely.
And you're being very
Yeah, and I think we could probably push it into the literature, but effectively,
Is that our job? Is that our
no.
Right, that's fair.
That's where the problem
Lies. Yeah, I mean, we can put something in the back and say, make sure you, but we're not out there every day selling these houses.
So, a question to the city attorney would be, so like with MUD, there's a disclosure document at closing.
That's right.
That's a one page or multiple pages that talks about the amount of debt that's been issued, the total amount of debt that can be issued, the tax rate. Does the PID have the same requirement
Yes, it does.
as that?
Any kind of district like that, the taxable district has to be it has to be disclosed. However, people sign things when there's 99 pages and it's e-signature, and then button next, it's real easy and you're tired and strategically placed on the bottom of the
And you've got to be like, you never have that. We also, be in red versus black.
You can't change that. The check forms, we'll take that's their form.
I suppose another kind of a safety valve on a PID is if the PID were to issue revenue bonds, the special assessment revenue bonds to fund some of these improvements, the way that the funds are handled, there's typically a trustee would be involved. So the bond proceeds would go to a trustee. The trustee holds on to the funds and does not, the developer doesn't just get the bond proceeds. So the way it would work is that the developer would hire a contractor, perform some work, the contractor says, okay, I've done the work, here's my invoice, and the developer inspects the work, and once the developer is satisfied, they submit a draw request to the trustee. And then the city inspector would go out and inspect the work and make sure that it's done to your satisfaction. And only then, until you approve it, until the PIT approves the disbursement of funds, then the developer will be reimbursed for those expenditures. So, flow of funds, try to put a check on the developer, make sure that they're doing their job, doing what they said they would do.
Dan, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions. It's a legal procedure recognized by the state of Texas, and I don't see any problem with that. The only question I might have is the possibility of fraud from people that are buying that don't know what they're getting into. But that's not our concern, and
It's really not fraud, it's just not doing their due diligence.
well, yeah, I know, but that's just bad business practice, but we don't have anything to do with that. And as long as this is a legal procedure recognized by the state of Texas, I don't have any problem with it. You know, we passed it last year, we discussed this last year, and our position, as far as I know, hadn't changed. Kind of surprised we're talking about it, really.
Do they have a list up front of what they're going to spend the money on? In other words, you're saying streets and water and that.
Yes, there's as part of the process of this Invocation, there's a service and assessment plan document that it's kind of the legal framework of the governing document of the PID. It lays out what's to be done, what improvements, how costs are allocated, and it's a very lengthy document that goes into great detail about what the PID is going to look like, what the developer is expected to do, what the city's expected to do, PID is expected to do. So yes, and that process is a long negotiation developing that document.
Brent, do we have any other residential PIDs in the city limits?
No.
I thought that subdivision that Chris Cheatham started asked for a PID, but he doesn't own the subdivision now, so
Just the commercial part of it.
380. Yeah, it was weird because this was the one that's going from 105 to Longstreet.
At least not so far enough.
He asked for, at one time.
it says bond transcripts submitted to Texas Attorney General for approval. So that's just like the city has to.
Yeah, the bond issuance process, that's correct. It's a similar process to when the city issues debt. It's a little bit different. It's just trying to find an investor who's interested in purchasing the bonds, selling them to the investor, getting it, the bond ordinance being adopted, bond transcript being prepared to show the legal proceedings of the bond issuance. It's sent to the Texas Attorney General for approval. The Texas AG does have to approve all types of government debt like this.
The city has the oversight. You're actually responsible.
In the bond issuance process? No, I think the city would certainly be involved in the bond issuance process. Certainly members of the city staff and the city attorney and a PID administrator. That's been an important role in the process. The PID administrator basically is on your side of the table, and they run the ins and outs of the PID. They're intimately knowledgeable about the legal requirements, a very specialized field. They manage the assessment collection, they determine what the assessments are every year, they coordinate with the tax assessor, make sure that they're collected.
Is this development looking for a capital or is that?
Yeah. Just, sorry, back.
Oh, of course.
Just, she was texting me, so they haven't decided, but I think they're leaning towards the cash flow bid. So it would actually be not an upfront revenue bond to pay for the infrastructure, it'd actually be paid back after the fact over the 30-year period, directly back to the developer through the city. It's a process, I don't know if there's a different process that you got questions on, but I do think that's the way they're leaning. Nothing in the development agreement says anything which direction they are going to go, so I think it's still see it in there. But she's leaning towards the cash flow.
And just for my clarification, if it was a bond, is that a bond with the developer or is that a bond with the city back fronting that?
It would be a bond issued by the Public Improvement District, and it's a non-recourse bond with the city. So the city, it's a bond issued by a local subdivision, purchased by an investor. But the city has no responsibility to, and in fact, on the offering documents, it says in capital letters, this is solely an obligation to the district. Nobody, not the city, county, Texas, the state, nobody has any obligation to pay this in the event of default.
Okay.
I would just add on the assessment side of things, another question came up earlier. You took that equivalent assessment on the $450,000 home. It's roughly half of what my tax rate of the tax rate that's in town. I'll say not all my taxes, but obviously as property values go up, as my taxes go up, the rate usually stays the same. Assessment's the same no matter what the value is. So if there's a comparison chart looking at about equivalent dollars, I just wouldn't want that.
Excellent point. It seems alluding to if the assessment stays the same as if home prices, home values go up, as a percentage of the total, total cost, total taxes and assessment, the assessments can, this percentage is going to go down over the life of the home.
So then in 30 years, if it's paid back, does the PID go away or is it in perpetuity?
I believe the PID can be dissolved after 30 years.
Or is it like a MUD? They say they can be dissolved, but they can't ever dissolve.
I think with the MUD, the city could take it over by taking on the debt, but I believe that the PID, that typically they're dissolved.
Okay.
At the end of this 30 years, as long as somebody remembers to do that.
Put it in your notes. Okay. Anybody else? Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next item on your agenda is the regular agenda. Consideration of possible action on the city council regular meeting May 26, 2026.
Question to approve minutes of regular city council meeting of May 26.
Motion by Ms. Lindsay to accept the city council regular meeting minutes of May 26, 2026.
Okay, the issue I have is with the regular agenda for discussion of flagpoles and on the parking lot. I'm not opposed, I'm not going to change the minutes, I'm not asking for that. I just want to point out why I don't like paraphrasing the minutes. Because it says in here, replacement flags suitable for the plots were estimated approximately 3,200 each, with an expected lifespan of about a year. I distinctly heard that these flags will last anywhere from 3 to 4 months. And I calculated that in my own head, and I said that's $10,000 worth of flags a year if you count it, it's going to last 4 months. That's not what the minutes say here. They got paraphrased, but I don't even think a flag can last a year if that's simple. But I just wanted to make that point and go back and listen to it. I guess you can find out then what was actually said, but that's what I heard. Otherwise, I'm fine with the minutes.
And the minutes have been seconded by Ms. Fox. This motion is to be pulled to vote. Cross-majority vote. It's open for further discussion. All those in favor of accepting the city council regular meeting minutes of May 26, 2026 as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and we will approve the city council regular meeting minutes of May 26, 2026. Number 8 on your agenda, consideration of possible action on the acceptance of the engineer's recommendation of award to complete construction services related to Buffalo Springs and Cities of Utility project.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So in front of y'all today is the agenda item for our recommendation of award. In front of y'all are hard copies of that recommendation. So just to summarize, this is for the Buffalo Springs and CD Stewart utility project. As a reminder, the scope of this project is to complete one water line from CV Stewart and Buffalo Springs along 105, closing that loop to service BCS Capital, and then on CV Stewart from approximately south intersection of Klepper and CV Stewart, all the way to the intersection of CV Stewart and Buffalo Springs, and then on Buffalo Springs, closing the loop from Lone Star Parkway to approximately the northern boundary of Home Depot. And then also with that, the closing of the loop of Abner Lane to Buffalo Springs as well. So all in all, the water line project would be closing a lot of critical loops within the city, particularly along that Buffalo Springs, CV Stewart, and 105 corridor. That is the water line component. The sanitary sewer component is a little bit more simple. Extension along 105, again from CV Stewart to Buffalo Springs. This is to service the BCS development, multifamily and commercial being along the frontage of 105. Just to give you all kind of idea of what the scope of the project is. We received bids for this project on June 4th at 2 p.m. Received a total of 10 bids ranging from $107,000 to approximately $1.4 million. Our estimates around the 90% completion of our design set came in about 1.2, excuse me, construction costs. So we came in right about the middle of what bids were actually received at. The low bid was from ARS Construction LLC in the amount of $807,906.50 with a total of 150 calendar days for substantial completion. For reference, ARS Construction is based out of Houston, founded in 2023. We have not worked with this contractor before, but we have reached out for references. They do not have any local projects. Their closest projects are in the Dallas, Crosby, and Fort Bend area. But when we reached out to their references, they had no issue with the contractor, no stating of substantial change orders that changed the entire scope of the project, no serious delays in terms of getting on site, completing the project. Several of the references cited that they finished contracts under the request or under the contracted amount, so finishing ahead of schedule, which is always a good thing. And upon looking over that and recognizing that the next low bid from ISJ Construction at $933,000, that's about $126,000 difference. We saw that there was no real significant reason to go with the second low bid and skip the low bid. As a reminder, this project is being funded by BCS Capital for the portion of water line and sanitary sewer along 105 and the water line from north of Home Depot to Lone Star Parkway, and then closing the loop on Abner and the actual crossing along CV Stewart. And then the portion of water line that's being funded by the Church of Montgomery is approximately from their frontage along CV Stewart, and then a tiny sliver on the last reserve of the Buffalo Springs Estates is funded by the city. And so that pro rata share is broken down, not in this document, but all parties have been privy to this information. So once we get confirmation and acceptance of the recommendation of award, we will be issuing, along with city staff, the request for deposit on the construction phase services of the project.
Does BCS want any say in this, or is this?
They've been given the bids, along with their engineer here as well. We haven't heard anything back from them, but again, we will confirm that they have no issue with this before we execute any contracts. And it is important to know that no contract can be executed with this until we have receipt of deposits from city staff, confirming that deposits from these entities, being the Church of Montgomery and BCS, have been received. So, and their acknowledgement of the bid would be receipt of that deposit.
The general discussion with BCS is about time, because if you look at the first two bidders, that 126, I think it's 90 days and 150. And so, you know, in development, time means a lot. And so that was a discussion, but based on their overall development timeline, it's not worth the additional 120 grand for saving potentially that 60 days, so.
And again, can they change, I mean, 126,000, that's kind of, it's not a big delta, but when you look at 807 versus 1.486, it's a big delta. So again, I'm gonna ask the question, what if they change order to get to the 1.486?
So, contract, allows for a change order of no more than 20% of the total contract amount before it has to be rebid. So effectively, if we receive a change order in the amount of $16,000, we would have to, or $160,000, excuse me, we would have to stop the project, rebid, and re-identify scope and contract.
Are you nervous that they just got the business?
No, so they've been founded for approximately about 3 years now. In the grand scheme of things, that isn't a lot of time in terms of days, but in terms of projects, we see contractors go for 10, 15 projects a year. So based on the recommendations and references provided, we don't have a concern with them being new to the game and not knowing what they're doing.
Have they done the scope or the size?
They have done similar utility extension projects, water line in the Houston and Crosby Fort Bend area. So again, knowing that this is more or less the same, you're adding in sanitary sewer in the abandonment of lift station 12, which is on that hard corner of CB Stewart and 105. It's a small lift station, so there's not a lot of actual work that needs to be done with that. So no real concern from that standpoint as far as scope goes.
I'll make a motion to accept the engineer's recommendation for ARS construction as presented.
Motion on Mr. Dalton, that we accept the engineer's recommendation of ARS construction as presented. Second by Mr. Glacier. This motion is favorable and requires majority vote for discussion. All those in favor of accepting the engineer's recommendation of ARS Construction LLC as presented, say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and we will accept ARS as the engineer's recommendation. Thank you. That number 9 on your agenda. Consideration and possible action authorizing the mayor to sign the escrow agreement by and between the city of Montgomery and Heritage Place 3, development number 2606. Mr. White.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. What we have in front of you is just the escrow agreement to start the Heritage Place Medical 3 project. So this does establish the escrow account for Mr. Cheatham to allow the city engineer to go ahead and move forward with the feasibility study. It's following your typical process, and this particular project is just a continuation of their Heritage Place 1, which is next to Pond Street. On 105, this takes it all the way to Louisa, where the Bar A Barbecue is. So it'll be kind of identical or similar building next to it. I believe it's a 3-story building, roughly totaling 19 close to 20,000 square feet. They have a site plan, including in your agenda packet from ALJ Lindsay, which is their civil engineer. So we'll be working with WGA slightly on the utility availability, just because they have all the calculations and capacities. So we'll run that through them so we can bring this report to you in the future agenda item. We'll cover all the other typical items, including utility studies. Happy to answer any questions we have.
Is that building footprint the same as, it's not the same that's already there?
It's a little bit
but
different.
It looks like it.
And
those are 2 different squares versus one building.
Correct. And he will be doing a different architectural theme, but it's the same theme where he's taking buildings from historic areas of Texas and bringing it to life.
And then doing what it looks like, pavers.
There'll be a lot of coordination. I think their idea is to continue that corridor along, coordinate with the tech stop to try to get pavers all the way to 105 and continue that walkability path. bringing that all the way to Louisa. We'll take a look at Louisa improvements and see if what improvements may be needed. That's a pretty narrow street and how it ties into the commercial between Pond and Louisa. Just kind of generally a little bit more traffic as a whole there, but we'll take a look at all that.
Any potential parking on Louisa to go in? I don't see it here. It looks like all the parking's being added at the back.
The initial site plan does show parking along Louisa, so we're going to have to coordinate with them if that's something that you would recommend or not. Drainage there is not great, and so I do think that they achieved their parking without that additional parking, but it's something that we'll look at with them just to see if there's a variance we have to bring in front of you. I do think that they are going to take a little bit of property on the existing home that's to the south, which will require a small rezoning as well to be able to just continue that existing parking lot due west.
Question, Mayor. Okay, in the Escrow Agreement, it says here on page 1, whereas the city policy requires the developer to establish an escrow fund with the city to reimburse the city for engineering costs, legal fees, consulting fees, and administrative expenses. Now, I could be getting this out of order, but all I see in here is the engineering cost. Where is the administrative cost and the other costs? Is that just open or is it not due yet? What's the deal? Brett?
No, when they created, they estimate the whole thing, that there's not a lot of costs on this one. That's why it's pretty simplistic. I mean, he has that. I think the breakdown.
The feasibility study typically would identify, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, typically would identify another deposit that would be issued that could talk about impact fees, additional engineering fees for plan reviews, attorney fees for the development agreement that's needed, any other staff that would be needed is all going to be identified in that feasibility study. So that additional deposit would be made prior to actually starting the plan review process and development process. This is just to get the feasibility study.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Exactly.
Yes, it is. It will. This is just the beginning, to get started. I think 6,000 was set.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the reason is that after Jonathan goes through the feasibility study, have a better idea of what all is going to go in it with Louisa improvements, et cetera, to give a number that's more, right now it's kind of a pie in the sky number. So once we have a realistic number after the feasibility, they would be required to put that additional deposit up before additional steps are taken by the city.
We identified our study to be $5,000 to 6, so we have about $1,000 of extra funds if we need something from the DPA or the city attorney or something like that during this feasibility study period. So we have a slight excess.
So if we pass this bill, are they going to pay us anything or we have to wait for the feasibility study?
They've made the deposit.
The deposit.
They've already issued the deposit. The 6,000 deposit is issued.
Is this going to be focused on medical or retail, or what's the focus?
My understanding is going to be medical. I think he's got a lot of interest in that, but certainly, he may be able to have an anchor come as medical, and some of the other ones may be something different.
How many parking spots are it adding?
It was, I don't have the number.
Your question, but it looks like a lot. It looks like it's going to go on, like that road that he built on the south side. It looks like it's going on both sides of that road.
It is a large amount. He's also got a couple parking spaces on itself. I want to say it was well over 100. It could have been near 200, but I had to know this.
I think you know line.
It is quite a bit. If he has
200 spots.
20,000 times 3
The whole
buildings.
area, not just the.
Yes,
Okay, yeah,
yes.
Okay, all right, cool.
Very nice.
He does good work.
So the amount that we will be asking for is 6,000.
Yes, ma'am. That deposit's already been.
The first page said 5,000.
Yeah, so our fees were $5,000 to cover the study, so there'd be $1,000 excess that would remain in that escrow account for any other fund fees. And then before the development actually proceed with plats, plan reviews, and anything else, additional deposit would have to be made to cover the rest of the escrow for the remaining portion of the project.
Any other questions?
I make a motion that we accept regular agenda number 9 as presented.
Motion by Ms. Fox that we accept item number 9 as presented.
Second by Mr. Johnson. All those in favor of accepting item number 9 as presented, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. The ayes have it, motion carries, and we will accept item number 9 as presented. Staff comments and reports, number 10, city administrator report.
I thought I'd touch on a couple of fun things maybe, and then I'm going to touch on the budget at the end. Hopefully that's not terrible. But right now with the Garrett House, the Raymond Pullen House, talked to Mr. Cheatham today, and we have established August 1st, we will start lifting that house. It's going to take a couple of weeks, to get it up. We have a structural engineer in place that, we'll be able to crawl under and look at everything, as we go before we move it over there. Also, the engineer will look at the Cherries building, the piers and the concrete and all the different things. So it's on schedule, and it looks like after about 2 weeks it should be over there. So everything's on schedule, I think.
This is WGA, this is
No, it's just my little project.
I didn't know.
Well, they did help me find the structural engineer. I don't even know what they do.
Dudley Engineers, they're based out of College Station.
Yeah. And then they're just gonna help us get some sort of report, because when we go back to the EDC and we look at what are we gonna do to this thing, what's necessary, period, if something's broken or eaten by bugs or other problems that we might find it. But so far it looks pretty good, and we've already cambered under it and everything. They spray foamed it at one time for insulation, so it's really kind of hard to see. But we'll see how that goes. But we'll report back between now and August 1st. We should be prepared.
So August the 1st is when you're preparing to do it?
Yeah, we'll start jacking it up, take about 2 weeks. They'll also start doing the lot leveling over there and getting that all prepared.
So is that why y'all did y'all were checking
Yes. Yeah. All of that's going to start happening on Monday. The structural engineer will be here on Monday, and they'll start looking at some of those. Cherry has come out and started looking at that foundation as they, process through that.
So there was nothing wrong with the soil testing or anything that they did?
Nothing so far. We don't see any issues. There is some drainage concerns there in the way that drainage is, but Zach and those guys are working on that a little bit, because once we have parking on the sides, we're going to address those.
That movement is already on budget. I mean, I know it's too early to tell anything, but it's.
That was an approved project by the EDC, and the project right now is set at $80,000. It's about $50,000 to move it. The other 30 is for this engineering stuff and any unseen things that we might run into. So it should cover the project completely.
Yeah, I thought it was 85, but that's okay. 80's good.
Calm down, Sam.
The other thing I wanted to touch on, the same kind of area, working with Zach again, we've been trying to get McGowan Street, ready for bid. It looks like in July we're trying to get you haven't got the workshop set yet, have you? You were looking at those. Did we do that?
Yes.
Yeah. We did?
Yes.
Okay. What is it?
I'm looking for it. It's July the 9th.
Okay, July 9th, we have a special meeting with the Downtown People Council, EDC, anybody that wants to come or can come on vacations and different things. But it's really for us to have opportunity to use the engineers and myself to communicate what this is going to look like, what the disruptions are going to be, because we're trying to get the bids out end of August, start construction in October, and construction time will go pretty fast, but we'll kind of see that once we get the bids in and go through that whole process. But
How are you going to get the word out about that meeting?
we're gonna work with the downtown people. I know that's why Kimberly was kind of working on it, helping us get the right people over here and make sure they get here.
Put it on my calendar, I didn't see it on the calendar, so always have a 6 p.m. meeting?
Yes.
Do we know, is it at the community center?
It's gonna be in here.
Oh, is it here?
Yes.
And it's just informational, is it workshop, are we doing like an agenda for it? How does that?
Basically, the agenda, I mean, we haven't really said it yet, but basically it's going to use these guys to walk them through the project, listen to questions. We're going to have the landscape people here, talking about the different trees and the different things. So, it's really an opportunity to let them understand what the process is going to look like, how it's going to disrupt their business during the time. Construction is never comfortable, makes a mess, but, I'm sure some of them have seen that pictures we posted down there. We're in the process of updating those and getting them more defined, but we'll bring that to them, let them, tell us, how they're feeling when they see anything. So, because after that meeting, it's going to go pretty fast with bidding and everything else. And the last thing I did, we are working on budget, and I'll let Mary Ann tell you all about that. You're going to see some new things as we go through the budget, and I really want your feedback on these things. We go through this budgeted process. We start with the departments. The first thing we do is we go to the departments. Hey, what do you need? What are we doing? We go to these guys and we ask them, CIP projects, which we already touched on. So we're going to lay that out for you. We're going to tell you each project, how we're paying for it. I know some of you had asked for different things, like the big debt we just took out, how we're going to pay for that for the first 2 years. Mary Ann is laying that out for you. So we're putting some descriptions in there that can go with all these line items. These line items don't really mean a lot this early in the process because we're finagling all the time, So we're trying to put more descriptions in there so you can kind of follow along what each department, and you'll have the opportunity to talk to the departments and ask questions and why do you need that, why do you consider that, and this is the opportunity to have that dialogue as we work further into it. On the second budget meeting, it'll be a lot with Zach and then with the CIP. We looked at the big CIP out to 20 years. We're going to define that. Really, we only function within 1 year, maybe looking out to 2. So we want to look at what it's going to cost us this year that we're budgeting for, because we can put that in the budget, move that money, and spend it for capital like it's supposed to be. We can look at the assessments we're getting in, which they've already done. It shows how these assessments are basically going to pay for what we're doing so far. Down the road, are we going to have to spend some money that, out of the fund itself? Yes, most likely. But right now, the assessments and different things we're collecting is pretty much be able to pay for that. Also, we have a large amount of money right now because we brought all the bonds in. We're collecting interest, so you figure that's added into. And Mary Ann has worked through that, so I won't step on her toes, but I just wanted to give you some information, what you're going to be seeing, and we hope that you will say, hey, I don't like this, I like this, I want more of this, I want more information, because that tells us we're communicating the right things. And the public as well, because we're going to have this up and we'll post some of this on the website.
So I was going to ask you, so is the preliminary budget going to be on the website or just the finalized budget?
The proposed budget will be, the proposed budget, just as always, will be put up in August. So we're working towards that.
Did it differently. So typically we just had like the Excel spreadsheet and you could see everything, but now it goes in a tree, right? Drop down and then you drill down and then you drill down further, or is that going to be in the proposed budget? It doesn't go that deep in.
So the proposed budget, the way that we did it last year is the same way that it's always been as far as the proposed goes. It has been that Excel worksheet. It's not been very, hasn't been all fancy and all that. The fancy piece comes in when, and it's not necessarily a drill down, they have the ability to drill into it more, but that ClearGov piece is what gives you the actual budget book in the final process.
And that's way more user-friendly once we get that in place and get that part of the new website. It makes it way easier.
So the new website will be ready, but that's my questions.
Oh, we hope so.
It's getting closer.
It is close. It is close now.
I mean, go live. I'm sorry, I hate our website right now. And I get complaints about it all the time.
I don't disagree.
It's not up. It's
And honestly.
I don't know why we jacked with it.
Some of the discussions we'll have in going through the budget, not that I wrote this down, it's just when you said that, conversation we've been having is IT, and we discussed it a little bit last year. And, we're using a third party now, and the option of that is potentially having IT, a IT person in-house and have somebody that can really spend their time on these websites and work with the departments, because that's really a piece we kind of miss. And, we have different departments working on parts of it, but we don't really have dedicated people working on IT here. And as we add more cameras, as we move to the new building, and we're just going to be adding more and more. So it's thoughts. We're thinking through how to manage the website, how to build these things.
Anybody have any questions? All right, Kimberly, where did she go?
You are, oh, there you are down there, close to you. All right, go ahead, Chief, number 11.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council. You have a report in front of you, but just a couple of notes. Tomorrow night is the graduation of our 6th annual Citizens Police Academy. It starts at 6 p.m. You guys are invited. After all, you're part of that, so you can, well, no, don't bring anybody, but you can come out and we'll have dinner for you. It's right here at the Pizza Shack. Starts at 6 p.m. And we'll be giving out awards for these people who came to the academy. And I think this year we had anywhere from 14 people. And we were talking, we were cruising around, and we were talking to some of the people as we've been going to different communities here. Out of this class here, I think we only have 1 or 2 people that actually live here in Montgomery. The rest of these people are coming out of the Woodlands, Magnolia, Wood Forest, and so we'll be recruiting a little bit more here, right here within our community. We send it out. But people seem to be surprised that, oh, you guys are doing that. Yeah, we're doing that. So, but it's been a really good class. And tomorrow night, 6 p.m., you guys can come out, have dinner with us, and meet some of the people who went to that class. Also, Thursday night will be 2 of our recruits graduated from the academy. They'll be graduating from the academy in College Station. So we'll be out there at their graduation. They've successfully completed that. It's been a hard 4 or 5 months, but they've done really good. So we'll be out there with them on that night. And the last note, our drone operators have been recruited to FIFA for, they're going to be doing some drone work for them on the 17th, 18th, the 23rd, and 24th. They'll be working in the division, whether we're looking for prostitution and trafficking, human trafficking. So they recruited our drone guys to come out, and they'll be taking care of that. So
and Houston, not in town.
Yeah, Houston. So they've done. Yeah, we'll be right in that area where everything's going on, because you have people when things like that happen, they start flying in prostitutes, and then there's human trafficking, and so they'll be up with their drones, helping secure that part here. So they've done real well in that training. So.
And they get paid for that by that organization?
No, ma'am, they won't get paid for that by the organization. They're letting them to volunteer. What they're doing is they're bringing in a lot of specialized services. They're letting them volunteer for those services. And so they're doing it here. They'll be on the days off. But it'll be real good for their experience and also looking for the city, youth and the city of Montgomery.
Exposure. Sure.
So you guys have any questions? If not, thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief. All right, next is the report.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. You have the citations for the court were 122, and the collections revenue was $26,327.21. Do you have any questions for this report? Thank you. Have a great evening.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. All right, next is the Economic Development Monthly Report.
Financial report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You may recall last month I talked to you a little bit about sales tax being down, sales tax is back up. The important thing to look at is we're currently 3.2% ahead of last fiscal year to date. So we're doing well on regular collection of those sales tax dollars. I also mentioned last month that we had we have some recovery of some large outstanding amounts on our aging report for the utilities. So that's reflected in this report as well. If you have any questions about anything in the report. All right. As Brent touched on, we will be looking at things a little bit differently when we bring the workshop, when we have the workshop next week. So instead of looking at the kind of those general items that you always have, right? The same thing, telephone, printing and office supplies, like those kind of things don't typically change, right? We're pretty consistent year after year on that. So really what we want to focus on in the workshop is those things that are different. And so that's what we'll be having more of a dialogue on that next week at the workshop. And then as we continue to work on some of the things I mentioned last year, where we talk about how we're trying to allocate expenditures more proportional across departments, based on whether it makes sense in the computer world to look at expenses based on the number of individuals in a department, and looking at all of those things across the board. So we're still working on that, still working on revenue. As you know, we will not have property tax information until the beginning of August. So we're working on all those fun things. So, any questions?
You keep saying next week on a workshop. Did
Yes.
I not hear that?
Workshop is on Monday.
Yes.
This went out this morning. Was the calendar sent out today? Yes, Monday. Monday the 15th.
You'll be conducting that, or is that?
What's that?
You'll be doing the meeting?
We will all be doing the meeting. All department heads will be here as well to talk about what their asks are. I think there will probably be some presentations as well about some of the things that they're looking at, so you get a glimpse of not just numbers, but what it actually becomes.
Did y'all get it? Did you get it, Cheryl?
Thank you. All right, next up, economic development. It's time to get up here.
Yeah, I think so. Good evening, Mayor, council members. Quite a few project updates for you. Brent has already hit on some of them, so he's really stealing my thunder. But the designs for the north and south lots are being revised to reflect the changes where we will not be including the parking lot on the north lot. There are currently the two signs, one in the north lot, one in the south lot. We're going to update those just so the public is more aware of what we're going to actually be doing. Those are the old plans. We're working, we have the designs for the engineers. We're going to have our sign makers get all of those updated so we have accurate representations posted in downtown for what we're going to be doing. There is a public meeting to discuss the downtown improvements project with the community as well as any interested board and council members. So the EDC board and the council are being invited to this meeting. We've posted it in case we have a quorum. Everyone doesn't need to be there. If you would like to, we welcome you for sure. It's more of a public facing meeting so we can explain what we're going to be doing in downtown to McCowan Street with the downtown businesses and the public. I've had a couple of people want to be invited specifically to that meeting from Ms. Fox. So I have notes on that. If there's anyone specific, please let me know and I'll get direct invites to them. I plan to send an email to all of you tomorrow and the board with the date and time of the meeting. I'll email all of our downtown businesses. I have a master list of their email addresses just so they're all on that email and that way they can attend. It'll be here on Thursday, July 9th at 6 p.m. A draft of the Chapter 380 Economic Development Incentive Guidelines and application has been completed. It's been submitted to the attorneys for review. My hope is to have this in front of both the council and the board, hopefully by August. This will help protect us as we move forward. We have to have the guidelines in place. I also have a draft of our Business Improvement Grant Program guidelines along with an application that has been sent to the attorneys for review. This will be a business improvement grant program that the Economic Development Corporation will fund. I hope to have this in front of the MEBC in July for approval. This will include different things such as facade improvements, landscape improvements, and it also includes an application. And it's a general business improvement grant, so it's not solely targeting downtown, but more so anyone in the city that meets the requirements. The MEDC still has ownership of the 213 Prairie Street property, and we are exploring potential alternative uses for the property if it doesn't sell in the coming months, and I hope to present that to the board in July. And the entryway, finding, and park signs are expected to be installed in August. The company will be here this Friday. We're gonna finalize some things with them, and then the next round of wayfinding signs will be installed in the fall. Any questions?
Wayfinding sign, is that just a production issue? Because we have the maps.
So we are currently scheduled to have the park signs and the entryway signs done in August. The issue we're having is because of McCowan Street improvements that will be done, we kind of have to face the signage a little bit. So we have multiple phases of that signage going in. So we'll start with entryway and park signs. And then hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have, I think it's another set of 27 signs going in that are wayfinding signs. And then once McCowan Street improvements are well underway or completed, we'll get that last round of signs in.
And those wayfinding signs include 2 Welcome to Montgomery signs, one out west, one out east?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Both on 105.
We have anything north and south?
So there are signs.
Where the green city limit signs are now, those will all be replaced from all directions. How many is there still? Did we come up with?
7.
7.
Wow.
So all of them will be a big 20-foot Montgomery sign now.
20 foot.
You've been here 90 days?
60.
60 days?
Yes.
What's your feedback?
I'm excited.
You still showed up.
Yeah, I'm still here, so we're doing good. No, things have gone really well. Brent's been really good to work with. I'm excited for the projects we're doing. I think we have a lot of opportunity here. Montgomery is growing. It's a pivotal point. So I'm excited that we are putting structures in place because a lot of communities that are still this size, according to the census population, they don't really have professional economic developers. And I think it's I'm a little biased. I think it was a good move.
Go ahead, put your shoulders down, girl. Stand up straight and tell us.
Yeah, I think it's very good. No, I do think there's a lot of opportunity here, and I've had a chance to meet with almost all of the board and the council members one-on-one. Everybody's been very welcoming, and I think we're all heading towards the same mission. So,
You feel like you have all the tools to be successful and the recipe for success?
yes, I feel very supported here. Yeah, it's been a really good experience so far. So.
Well, and I popped in on Kimberly yesterday unannounced with some visitors, and I just want to say thank you for how you handled that and asked some great questions, so good job. Thank you. Thanks.
Number 15, Public Works.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. She didn't mention it's been a pleasure working with me before we say it live. Got the report in front of you. Be happy to answer any questions you may have on it.
Thank you for Christmas trees.
Cedar in the park? You bet. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Turned out nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, they turned out nice. Keeping them watered and making sure they stay healthy. Oh, yeah.
So I had questions about trees on MLK. I got that today, and then you said that you don't have plans to.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, it is it's on the list.
Yes. So no date, just.
No, but I know the guy over in Public Works that handles that, so I'll see if I can push it up a little bit.
Am I looking at him?
No,
Okay.
no, I got another one that handles it.
Also, will you talk about the fan real quickly, just about the fans
Oh, sure, yeah. Energy Feed the Heat program. Yeah, you bet. So Energy delivered 125 box fans to us. You came out, Brent came out, accepted the delivery, and we have them at Public Works. We're storing them out there, but we're bringing them up here 20 or so at a time. There are no stipulations according to Energy. Doesn't matter who you are, what you make, doesn't matter if you want a box fan. Just come to City Hall and ask for one, and they'll gladly hand you one. We come and replenish.
Pretty good,
I think so, yeah.
I had two residents ask me to bring them a box fan, so I guess I'll DoorDash box fans.
Yeah.
Is Shine residency for those, or is it just?
There is not, no. Which I think is great. I mean, I was kind of wondering how we were going to get rid of 125 at first, but with no stipulations, that definitely helps.
Power will deliver half.
Yeah. So we still have plenty, so come get them.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, the homecoming park, is that started already, or is it?
So everything's been ordered.
Okay.
So they ordered it, it's in production. They're expecting a midsummer install. So I'll keep y'all updated on that.
All right, utility operation, we have.
All right.
2026.
Good evening, We've got a pretty darn good looking report for you tonight. So 96.87% accountability, so meters are looking good. As far as your overall pumpage, we're at 15 million gallons this last month for the wastewater treatment plant, and we're in compliance with the discharge plan. So things are looking good over there. And the next page is kind of the status of where we are with our permitting with the Lone Star Runoff Conservation District for the year. And we're right on track.
Good.
Things are looking good.
Great job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Number 17, May 2026 Development Services Monthly Report. Ms. Tilly.
Evening, Mayor, council members. You have my report in front of you. Nothing really new. Still have a lot of calls, people interested in coming into the city, asking what's available, where they can go. A lot of interest in purchasing property, not much so the leasing, but still a lot of interest.
We have, and this is probably for Brent, for 213, how is that going?
Well, that's kind of why we're working with Kimberly. You know, we looked at the options of selling it. We've had some offers, some, couldn't get to a deal. If we keep it as an EDC, and use it as a business to offer rental space for small businesses, we think we can divide it up into three and make it useful. Right now, it's just sitting empty. Now, Mike and his guys have cleaned it up quite a bit and made it look a little better. But we'll see how the EDC decides to go. I mean,
what's your feeling?
There is interest. It just has to be the right person, I guess, to pull the trigger.
So what would rental rates look like?
Yeah, she can answer it because she just did that today.
Sorry.
You want to hear it? No, okay, you go ahead.
You may be sick and discuss.
No.
Not yet, no, but
We've calculated the rental rates are approximate.
Yes, so I am putting together a presentation for the MEDC in July to discuss this. I'm still putting it all together, very preliminary. I'm actually walking the building tomorrow morning with with Eric, one of Mike's guys, to discuss cost of interior renovation, to divide it out into 3 offices. But as it stands, the building is around 4,800 square feet. After we add in a hallway, things like that, it'll bring it down to probably around 4,500 square feet. And then in terms of total rental capacity, like in terms of money, over 1 month at $12 a square foot, which was the market value without any improvements in the building. We would get around $4,500 a month from that building. At $15 a square foot, which is kind of the upper end of the fair market value, it's around $6,700 a month. And that's dividing the space into 3 separate offices, and then having a common space with a break room and adding in a restroom.
That's total for the building, and that's, okay, all right.
Do you have potential people of asking about that, or is there a market for this location for businesses? Because it's kind of out of, it's not.
We haven't, because it's so preliminary, we haven't promoted it. So that's the thing, like we don't, and that's one thing we can do through the EDC is along with it's truly an opportunity to promote, to create a space for startup businesses or small businesses at a rate that might be more accessible than others. Not that we can undercut the market significantly. We have to figure out the mechanism to do that. But one thing that I've put together for the EDC is a grant program that I'm planning to mirror the 2 together to where there's an incentive for being in this space in the form of specific grants you may qualify for if you're in this space. So to answer your question more directly, I don't know what the market looks like. I believe that with the location it's in, with downtown, with suspected development that's going to happen nearby, I do think that the value of the building is going to increase. So even if, and it's for the EDC to vote on and decide, but even if we did do some renovations, held the building for a couple of years, put it back on the market, it's probably a good investment with the way values are increasing in the city. So that's where I'm at with it so far.
All right, sorry to jump around.
All right, Kelly, sorry about that.
That's okay.
She probably could have told you the same thing. We've had this conversation for a year now.
So the last thing that I just wanted to come out to well is at P&Z. Is that just last week? At P&Z, we had 3 presentations of preliminary projects that people are considering here in the city of Montgomery. So the nursery, looking at a Republic Yard House, outdoor entertainment, restaurant, and then just north of the elementary school on 149, there's a house there. They want to occupy that as a salon and eventually have an outdoor farmer's market in that location, a family-friendly location. And then the last one is a hometown bank in the location that Shipley's looking at. So there's just a presentation just to let people know about what they might be coming in for, possible variances, special use permits, that kind of thing.
Like nursery, like as in plants, or nursery as in like for kids? When you said there's a nursery.
The
Yes, ma'am.
Republic Yard House, that's where the A&A nursery used to be, and that's where the Republic Yard House would like to go.
Republic Yard House is a nursery?
No, that would be the name, I'm sorry, the name of the business that is looking at, yes, the outdoor entertainment location. It's going to be called the Republic Yard House.
So is it changing name?
Okay,
I'm pretty sure Ryan told me they were going to.
Yeah, that's it.
He didn't want the I don't know the property type. What was that?
What was the one about the elementary school on
That is going to be a salon location where eventually they'd like to also have north of the elementary school. On the
So maybe we just need rezoning there, most likely. I'm getting ahead of it.
There would be a rezoning. It's a commercial zone property. It is already zoned commercial.
You're good. Thank you.
All right. Next up, number 18, Mr. Hannah for the leadership report for annual operations.
Good evening, council and mayor. You have my report. You asked me to start making this presentation a year ago. So this one I've included the 2024-25 series year to date, so you can compare to this year. But I'm not real good with math. That's why I'm an inspector instead of an engineer. But I think we're about 150% above what we did the previous year. So if there are any questions on building permits or any of that issue, I do have information about swimming pool barriers that have become an issue here lately. But do you have any questions about that?
So can you explain that to me? Because I got called about fence, now they're doing fences that face 10 boards face in, 10 boards face out. So this was news to me that now when that happens, the person that wants the pool has to be neighborly with their neighbors to ask their neighbors if they can put round caps, whatever, so that a child, critical to remember, cannot use those outward slats to jump over the fence to get in the backyard.
So the basic concept is that a swimming pool is considered to be an attractive nuisance in the common law. So as a result, codes have been developed to protect the world from somebody getting into a pool. And what that requires is a barrier around the pool. So when we do our inspections, we start at the edge of the pool and we look outward until we find something that meets the barrier requirements. Where the issue has come up is that when the developers and home builders have come into neighborhoods, they've built fences that are fine for a privacy fence. And in many cases, wooden fences have a mid-rail, and the code provides that you can't have any horizontal members less than 45 inches in height horizontally that could be used as a ladder to crawl over. Or in the case of wrought iron fences, same dimensions. And many people, when they have a 48-inch wrought iron fence made, the bottom rail and the top rail are about 45 inches apart, 44 inches apart. So that doesn't meet the pool barrier requirements. So in essence, your perimeter fence may not comply with what the requirements of the code are. That's not saying you can't have a pool. It's just saying you can't use that perimeter fence that's in existence as part of the barrier. So you'd have to set back and either put an interior pool fence, like some of these child safety fences around the edge of the pool, or part of the yard, like creating a dog run or something where a pet can play. But when people come in, and that's part of the issue, and I think we finally got priority convinced when they build their fences, and they're doing what's called a good neighbor fence, where you've got one side has the vertical slats and the other side has the vertical pickets, and you alternate panels. In essence, what you're doing is creating a potential that somebody can climb over that if they have that mid-rail. So what they're doing in that neighborhood now is just putting the top and bottom and not putting that middle one in. So in an existing neighborhood where the developer, builder, whoever built the fence and put this middle rail on the neighbor side, then you can't use that perimeter fence for a pool barrier.
Can they remove that middle slat?
You can remove the middle piece, but then again, that's generally on the neighbor side, so you got to talk to them. The problem with it is typically the mid rails are made of 2x4 treated material, and the pickets are cedar. And if you try to pull that out, it just pulls a hole through the picket, and now people have a fence picket with holes in it. So the remedy I've had for many years is the least expensive way to remedy the problem is to cut a piece of 2x4 in a bevel, like a triangle, nail that on top of that middle rail, now you can't get a toll hold on it, and that's the whole intention of the code, is to keep somebody from using that. That's the cheapest method that I've found to do it. Other than that, if a neighbor doesn't want to modify their side of the fence,
Do you have to get permission from them to modify that fence? I mean, so if the neighbor says, I don't want to modify it,
But I want to modify it and still my fence, can I still go over there and modify it, or do I have to have their permission?
that'd be a question for legal.
attorney.
My understanding is that's private property if you don't have approval
I
from the neighbor.
understand, but it's, say the fence is,
Used by both sides.
Yeah, I'd say they'd have to come to an agreement on there, but I think if it's in ordinance, in code, then you can fall back on that and say, we need to do this, otherwise we're not in compliance on their fence.
That's a power camp on your side.
So the issue that's presented is that a person talks to their neighbor, they don't want to comply, they don't want to modify the fence, whatever, and if the person says, well, nobody's going to climb over that fence and get into my pool, in my opinion, talk to legal, but we can't give a waiver, we can't, say that, okay, we won't enforce that. When you start backing off an adopted, not only is this the international code, but the state is adopted as a statewide code, that puts the city in jeopardy of saying, no, we'll disregard it. And that's what's happened in the years past, was administration just, pool permits would expire and they never modify their fence, so that's why people are driving around going, well, the guy down in the street doesn't have it that way. It wasn't enforced. And y'all pick me and I'm the bad guy.
I'm fine about we're doing the job that we hired you to do.
Some more.
But I mean,
Well, I was going to say that if the person on your neighbor would not mind, just
can you do that?
I believe that probably comes from our office.
So then if you send your neighbor a certified letter that says if anybody drowns that came from your side of the fence,
some kind of like,
Then you can't sue me if
I would think to our office, send a certified letter that this has to happen in order for them to be in code compliance, then that would put some more pressure on that neighbor.
But it's not their issue, it's you, because you have a pool.
It's not their problem, so why? It's not my case. Because that happened with my neighbor, I don't like my neighbor, I'm like, you put it in your pool, that's your problem, do it. That's my side of that. Where we at?
you ain't getting a pool. That's not right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Unless you want to pay for that fence on the inside. But I mean, as somebody that has a turd neighbor, like that's the last person who's gonna have, right? Yeah.
So-
I'm being.
So if that's the case, what is is it just you don't approve it, it goes on record that it wasn't approved by the city?
So the process that I've been using after my experience in other communities is that in many cases, the pool contractor in his contract says that all we're doing is putting the hole in the ground and filling it with concrete and then water. We're not liable for the fences. And they spend $120,000 for this pool and then they're out of there. And then we go do the inspections and you have a pool fence that doesn't meet code. And then the homeowner goes, well, I just spent $120,000. I can't afford now to spend $5,000 to upgrade my fence. So to counteract that process, what I've started doing here is requiring that we go out and look at the pool barrier beforehand if they have an existing fence, just to make sure that it's going to be okay. And we've had 2 or 3 that have come through that, for example, we're in Briarly, and all they're going to do is put a latch a little bit higher. That's a simple fix, but the outside was going to be able to comply, so I've gone ahead and approved the plan review on that. But the ones that have the good neighbor fence, I've just said, hey, you're going to bring the fence into compliance. I've had one of those in Mia-Lago, so they've gone in and put their 5-foot wrought iron fence up all around. They've left a leave out so they can take the equipment in and out to dig the hole and put the gunite in and so forth, and then they'll close that part up. But that's the only way that I've seen to make people hold their feet to the fire is picture their pool barriers and glass. Part of the problem is that 2 or 3 of the neighborhoods here have a required fence design that the developer put in their restrictions. You got to build this kind of fence, 4 foot high, wrought iron, and that's what you got to have. Well, that's fine for keeping pets in or out, but when it comes time to do a pool, it doesn't meet that. So, and we've had people who've gone in and taken the fence up and got an agreement with their neighbor, put a 5 foot height fence and corrected it.
But we in the city, though, we require a permit for the pool.
Correct. So that's what, when they apply for their permit, we've gone out and looked at their barrier. If they don't have anything up at all, I've said, okay, you're gonna have a barrier before we'll approve your pool permit.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because, if they don't do it right, you're not gonna approve the pool permit. So you're the bad guy. I'm just kidding.
You are the bad guy. I just think it's so crazy. I feel like, and I'm all for less government, and I feel like that's government really intruding on my desire. If I have been set by
I don't write the song, I just sing it. It's the International Code Council that developed this based on incidents. I mean, children drowned. And remember last year we adopted a resolution saying we support, the concept. And that's the whole thing. It's all about safety. And people go, oh, my kids don't have a swim. Well, it's that one child that somehow or other gets through a little pace that's more than 4 inches apart, and they squeeze through a fence and they get in and they drown. Front page of the paper. Who allowed this? It won't be me.
Just talking about everything. Okay. I just looked at emoji that's melting. Like, this is so wild to me. But.
Yeah, and I understand, and like I said, I've talked to 2 or 3 of these folks, and the solution is if you can't make an arrangement with your neighbor, you're going to come up with something inside your area to come into compliance.
Thank you.
Anything else?
You got a good smile, Rick.
Thank you.
All right, number 19 and 2 report. Thank you.
Good evening again. So front of today is our engineer's report. I'll hit the high points of the report. So starting on page 108, first page of our report is the downtown improvement project. Both Brent and Kendra have already given some updates as far as kind of what's going on with the project. Just to provide y'all kind of an engineering update, we did receive updated survey on the north and south lot, south of Caroline, and so we will be working that into our design. Also coordinating with Kimberly and staff on the workshop with downtown property owners. That will be happening in July. So next July, August will be busy months with us planning to bid the project out in July, or August, excuse me. Going on to the Town Creek wastewater treatment plant expansion. As a reminder, this project was, or is being funded with the 2026 CO funds. The 90% from half is expected later this month, and we do plan on bidding this project out later this year. That is timing up right. Ideally, in time for the next item's completion, which is the demolition of the Town Creek wastewater treatment plant. As a reminder, this was awarded to R&DI companies at your last council, May 26, in the amount of $283,000 and 40 calendar days. They're currently going through contracts, finalizing all their signatures, and we will be sending that to the city attorney for review and approval. Upon that, we will have them mobilized on site. And again, they're expected to be substantially complete with that. The demolition at the end of September. Going on to the fourth item, water plant number 4. This is also being funded with your CO funds. We received 90% plans earlier this month, or late last month, excuse me, and provided comments back to the design team last Tuesday, actually. And so they're going through, addressing those comments and finalizing their bid set for bidding out this project. Very similar timeline. We do plan on bidding this project out later this summer. Concurrently with this, we are working with the district and the district's attorney on the transferring of the water plant site. site. As a reminder, this was required by the Redbird Meadows Briley Development to deed over the water plant site in the future. It is now that time, so we're going through preliminary plats were just approved by P&Z. Y'all will see that at y'all's next June meeting, June meeting. And final plats for that will be going forward. And so kind of concurrently with the final plat review, we'll be deeding over the water plant site to the city. Going on to the next page, looking at your capital projects, a big item that I want to touch on here is Lift Station 10 Phase 2. So this project, we did have our substantial completion inspection last Tuesday and identified punch list items at that time. Some electrical labeling, minor site work, and modifications to the access hatch on the wet well. None of those items impact the operation of the lift station, so it is substantially complete. We are expecting those punch list items to be complete by the time we make a recommendation that this is accepted into the one-year warranty period for the city. As a reminder, this project is being funded by Taylor Morrison as a part of the Lone Star Hills development. And the scope of the project was to add in a third pump and some electrical modifications, adding in a generator at that site. The next item on this page I want to talk on is the Buffalo Springs and C.B. Stewart roadway improvements project. As a reminder, this is a part of the BCS capital. If you remember, they are required to fund the design and construction of C.B. Stewart South, so from 105 to Clever Street, and then Buffalo Springs, approximately from where Home Depot ends all the way up to the intersection of C.B. Stewart and Buffalo Springs. We are planning on bidding this out in the next few weeks, advertising later this month, and making a recommendation of award at your second July council meeting. We've already talked about the utility infrastructure related to Buffalo Springs and C.B. Stewart, so I will not rehash that. So going on to the next page, a couple of highlights as far as ongoing construction. Lone Star Hills, the aforementioned development along Lone Star Parkway, they are continuing with their infrastructure. All the linear work is complete, so now they're working on pavement. So you'll see a kind of a paving installation of some of their roadways as of 2 weeks ago. So that's continuing on. Moving on to the next page, tackling some of your one-year warranties. So the one item I want to talk on is Old Clarensville water line. We had that one-year walk early May, issued punch list at that time. The contractor has since completed all warranty punch list items, and we will be making a recommendation that we end the one-year warranty period and release the maintenance bond at your next council meeting. Very similarly to the MISD CTE building, we held the one-year warranty on May 18th, issued punch list at that time. The contractor has since addressed all punch list items related to that, and we will be making a recommendation at your next council meeting that is ended, and we released the maintenance bond on that project. Going down to the last item on page 111 of y'all's packet is FM 1097 Atkins Street drainage improvements. This is a TxDOT project. I'm sure y'all are aware traffic on that road has been substantial since school's let out with the lane closures going north and south on that road. They are planning to complete work later this month based on their latest schedule. We are following that one closely and making sure that they are coordinating all of that access with the city, making sure that when they expect to be complete. Going on to the next page, page 112 of your packet, access management of State Highway 105. This is the State Highway 105 expansion project. We received correspondence a few weeks ago from TxDOT letting us know that they had let go of their design firm, Atkins Realis, and so now they're coordinating, making sure that all parties, not just the city, but all other jurisdictions along this corridor are aware of that and restarting those negotiations and conversations regarding right-of-way acquisition and utility relocation. We actually have a meeting with TxDOT next Tuesday, our biannual meeting. City staff, I believe the mayor is also invited to that as well, with TxDOT, just to discuss all the ongoings with TxDOT related projects as it relates to the city. So that will be a topic of discussion that we will like to hit on. The next item, FM 1097 Buffalo Springs signal. I believe we may have talked about this last month, but just want to make it abundantly clear that signal has been activated. So it is operational, so you will no longer see this on our report moving forward. The next item, FM 1097 in Hazel Road. This is the Montgomery Bend signal. Based on conversations with the engineer for that Montgomery Bend subdivision, we are expecting that one to be activated later this month as well. The signal HUD is up. They're just waiting on power to get to the signals. So,
are those signals like a mile apart?
Probably a little less, maybe right at that 1 mile, but yeah, they are really
So I
close.
hope they're gonna be synced, right?
Yes, so TxDOT is in charge of all coordination as far as syncing and phasing of those signals, and so they will be coordinating that on their end.
It's my understanding they have one guy that does all the syncing, and his syncing breaks often here. So that's gonna be a syncing problem during summer, school time, if they are not synced.
I know when those complaints come in, they typically come into Public Works. Obviously, those signals are not owned by the city, so those complaints that come to Public Works or the city would then be followed up to TxDOT. We have a really good working relationship with Mike and the county engineer, so having those addressed and identified shouldn't be an issue, but once they come in, we'll be on top of those.
Are they already on fiber, those?
The ones.
That's what makes the difference according to the.
Yeah, I know the ones on FM 1097 are supposed to be on fiber, and then the one on 149 is planned to be on fiber as part of their project packet. Yeah.
So when those coming from 1097 Bentwater, west of the lake, let's just say on 1097 to go to Lincoln, or to go to the high school, there's 2 more lights there now than there were last school year. There's 1 light, now there be 3. It's gonna be imperative.
Yeah, those timings and phasing.
Properly.
Yeah. Agreed.
Okay.
Going on to Lone Star Parkway roadway expansion, this is the county's project. So we provided comments to them on their preliminary alignment for the pavement expansion along Lone Star Parkway. Their proposed improvements are from 149 all the way down to 105. So essentially all the eastern corridor of the city. We brought up those comments. There were some potential conflicts with existing city utilities, making sure that they being the county are aware of those. And so either altering their alignment or making sure that if there are relocations that could be required, it's coordinated with us prior to any construction being completed. Going down to the last item in our report, Old Plainsville MOU and 3-party agreement. This is a 3-party agreement with the county, Brierley, and the city. It is our understanding that the agreement for the improvements is with the county and the district. They're going back and forth on some of the language of the agreement, but the county is planning to move forward with the design and construction of the roadway. We did receive plans earlier this afternoon, and so we will be reviewing those and providing comments to the county, making sure that they're adhering to all the city standards, signposts, etc., making sure that coordination on construction as well is being monitored. So we will be monitoring that closely. We'll receive schedule for design, construction once the county has confirmed that on there. Going on to the attachments, on page 114, you'll see our active plan review. Some of these actually, everything but Brierley section 7, which we'll be sending out tomorrow morning, has been addressed. We did get a handful of plans late last week, so this is not reflective of that, but we are on top of all of our plan reviews and plat reviews, DIAs, TIAs, etc. Going on to page 115, this outlines all of the active developments within the city, from InDesign, warranty, construction, feasibility, etc., that we are aware of within the city. And then the next exhibit shows all the pre-development meetings that we've had over the past quarter or so, outlining where they are and what they're planning to do within the city. And then the last page of my report is an exhibit of all the capital projects within the city. And again, what their statuses are, funding, etc., for those projects.
Is that cell tower, is that a mini? Or is that cell tower, is that like a mini tower or mini?
It's 250 feet, the cell tower that they're proposing. 250. Yeah, 250. We still are kind of going through some of the terms of that, and it has not been presented to council as far as the escrow agreement, so nothing has been, confirmed as far as continuing with the development. They're hashing some things out on their side, some legal precautions and agreements that they have to complete before they want to move forward with the development.
Something it's been dropped on here, but how about that 1-year warranty for those streets in Town Creek Crossing?
So that has come up in recent weeks. We reached out to contractors to handle the issue outside of the one-year warranty, just because the developer and contractor have been dragging their feet, particularly who pays for it.
Yeah.
That will be handled, and we're trying to confirm that with staff and legal as far as that settlement, because ultimately that project has not been fully accepted and the one-year warranty is still active. But the issue is that the work that was identified as deficient was not completed by the contractor that we have on bond. And so bonding company for that contractor is saying that they won't require their bonded contractor to complete the work because they weren't contracted for that work. So effectively, when construction happened, contractor A was bonded with the city, but the developer removed a scope of work from that development, and contractor A was no longer responsible. Contractor B was responsible. Contractor B is not bonded with the city, and so there's no way for the city to call the bonding company to say, hey, this work is deficient, you need it to be repaired.
Did we know about B?
Happened after the fact being the work was completed.
Is this normal?
No, not at all.
Just the nerd, I'm having a hard time digesting.
Yes, very, and Chris.
Yeah, I mean, so it was all related to the sidewalks. And so they went back in and installed sidewalk ramps after the fact with a different contractor. They caused issue with the roadway, and then that's where the finger pointing started. So we've gotten prices. We're working with Brent and kind of looping kind of the cleanup of all of it together with creeks and everything else to see how we can get it all resolved and behind us.
Who's responsible? So if contractor A
Doesn't fulfill, so we have a B, should the city have known that there was a B contractor, or is
Yeah,
that
most
not
likely.
our business because they were private streets at the time?
If it would have been a subcontractor, that'd be one thing, because the bond would cover the
Yeah,
subcontractor under the contractor, but it's totally.
So the developer hiring a second player without our knowledge is none of our business or all of our business?
We should have been made aware.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking.
And the weird part about this is it's normal that these sidewalks are getting installed in front of the homes. The thing, and so those aren't the issue, is they cut in to put in the curb ramps. And that was the issue part, because the sidewalk in front of the house, you know, it's not gonna affect anything else, but those intersections were the problem.
So they cut into contractor A's
Correct,
curbs.
correct.
I need a drink.
So there's been a lot of back and forth. We've had
So
some.
who's responsible? So that's the taxpayers gonna be responsible.
No, so the city hasn't officially accepted those roads.
Understood.
And so,
How does that, what's the remedy?
so currently what the remedy is we've got updated pricing for doing all the work. So we have a scope in mind to understand what is it the maximum gonna take. Brent has been meeting with the developer to discuss a handful of items, including these, to get kind of all of it cleaned up in one fell swoop. So we can get roads behind us, and we can get other items related
So we
to it.
don't currently know where the funding source is coming from, or who's funding the mitigation of the bad work?
Based on what my observation has been and what we're looking at, I think the road itself, you know, there are a few cracks and a few things can be fixed without much dollars. The answer to the sidewalks, the worst ones is to bust out that final piece and redo that. We're not talking about much money to make this just go away. Because it doesn't seem like it's structural, it's more visual.
So how do we prevent this not happening further? Because with all these developments coming in and finding out over a year later there's a second player that's in the mix, how do we?
Well, it should be listed under the GC, whoever's project that is. I mean, subcontractor's one thing, but if the developer switches, you know, that in the middle of the project, you know, we might not.
It's that project, that's where my heart is. It's like, wait a minute, you changed your team players.
Yeah.
And then now, gonna hand it over to the city, but that sounds like we just learned this.
No, it's been
We know that
ongoing.
there's been a change of plans.
Correct. So the simple answer to your question is we require that the curb ramps go in with construction of the section. So they're up front, and then the sections of sidewalk go in after. That's the simple fix.
You made anything?
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion. Motion by Ms. Langley that we approve all the reports as presented.
Second by Mr. Frazier. All those in favor of approving the reports, say aye. And those against, the ayes have it. Motion carries to approve all the reports as presented. Closing agenda. Number 20, Councilman Clerk.
Yes.
Go right ahead.
Okay, in light of the fact that I just completed my cybersecurity awareness test today, do we need to have something in writing in the city procedures in regards to this subject? Like how we're supposed to react if we have a phishing accident? Just a simple question. I'm just
Like what the procedures are if you feel like you see something?
Yeah. But, I mean, I'm just asking if you should incorporate. I understand the story, but, and several of us have experienced it. But do we need something in the procedure manuals of the city to tell us how to do it?
I mean, we do have some in there, and we're in the middle of updating some of that. I think more maybe what you're asking is what the procedure should be if you get that. Now that is in place in the system that we have, through Outlook. There is a place within Outlook to report that as a bad email or block it. Which is,
And also to report. There's two different
yeah.
avenues to report it.
Well, my question is twofold in regards to, do we call somebody in the city or do we call our IT provider and tell them the problem? Who do we talk to?
Well, I don't know that you really need to talk to anybody, but if you use it within Outlook and report it on there, it goes straight to the IT company. They blacklist that, tell you whether it was fraud or whatever. They'll eventually report back to you.
Okay, I mean, because I'm still learning.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we could give you, an outline or have Ruby show maybe up on a screen or something and show what that looks like. It's really your email where you can do most of those sites pretty easily.
Number two.
Don't buy the gift cards.
Number two. I've got an interest in putting a sidewalk on Invocation from 149 to our city limits. And I don't know how to get that thing to the city, our city limits on MLK. And just that one on one side, that's on the side. I just want us somehow in the future to have it on the sidewalk from 149 to our city limits. I'm interested in doing that, but I don't know how to manage it. So I'm putting it out there for.
Well, we had opportunity for grants
Yes.
to put that in, and the person doing the grants at the time
Yes, I know.
didn't know what they were doing. So there are grants. We know somebody that actually knows how to apply for the grant.
And HGAC actually
That's
has some of that money that might be available specific to that program.
So kind of adding on to that, we have had discussions with TAC, or HGAC, excuse me, and they have this fund, set aside money, TASA, I forget the acronym, but essentially it's funding that they outline for communities such as Montgomery to have some of these projects and construction go on. One of the things that they recommended as far as securing that fund and upping your score in terms of priority is comprehensive planning and outline plans on what you're wanting to do with the city, i.e. we want the city to be more walkable, what area plans that we have to kind of support that plan, and moving forward with that. And so the city does have, obviously, a comprehensive plan on record, and we have been using that for our funds. What would bolster that even more is kind of an update to that. Now, I know Brent has been working on planning some of that out, and so that has been something that we have discussed with HVAC and TechStop for that matter.
So I think in the past, like, the city just didn't have the money. I mean, it's a very expensive project to do. And so to not have the funds out of our own general fund or funds to do it, one has been a challenge, and two, when we've had the opportunity to apply for grants, we were declined because we didn't apply for them properly. And so three, I don't know if it has to be in phases or how, grant is the only way I can think of that we can get that funded. Because it's hard to spend taxpayer dollars on just a particular part of town when you're servicing the whole town, right?
The story,
Coordination with the county too.
Yeah, that's right.
but the story I heard was, we had the money at one time to do it, and it got spent for something else. And we never, that's what.
No, there was a grant that we had, and the grant actually, the grant expired prior to using the grant, but we were, yeah. It wasn't completely done, yes. Anyway, point being is there's a possibility to get awarded. It was blessed at one point. So that's why we should go and look at it again.
All right, thank you.
And you might know where that grant was through.
I'll be honest, I don't remember getting a grant that we never used.
Yeah, it was like 400.
We've gotten money, we've got grants before. One of them was for drainage. We ended up doing, well, it was labeled as a drainage grant. We ended up getting some work done at the water plant with it. But to my memory, I don't remember a sidewalk grant.
6 years ago,
Yeah.
we didn't get money for a sidewalk.
No. I remember we had applied for the safe routes to school, but I think that was more from down 149. It was supposed to connect downtown to the school.
Yeah.
It could have been down MLK as well, but I think it was mainly for 149. That's the one that I'm remembering, but we didn't get it.
I didn't get that grant.
No.
You can go on a grant
Hunting.
Okay, I noticed KKK was in the engineering report, and they put off their proposal till sometime in the summer. According to what I remember, with our contract with them, it ended in May, and we have paid them all the money they were due according to that contract. And I am asking y'all to watch to see if they try to charge us any additional money for something we've already paid them to do. Because I don't want to pay them any more money until we get them to do what they said they were going to do.
Yeah, we're getting pretty close. We're working on the final. We've got the attorneys and WJ and myself. We're finalizing. We've got a single document now. We've created the UDO. We're putting comments in. So yeah, we're getting close. Not that it was easy, but I think we turned out a pretty good product.
There's $14,000 left on that contracted amount versus what has been billed to date.
Right. Thank you. Supposed to have been done in May.
Well, I mean, if contractors get incentives for beating the due by date, what happens when they far exceed the due by date? We're not obligated to pay for it.
Depends what the contract says.
Yeah, it doesn't really, it's
This
deliverables more
this
than
one probably doesn't
time.
have that in there.
I want them to get what they're due, but I don't want to pay them more than something.
I want to get what we're due.
And honestly, at this point, we're at the end of it, so it's really
the attorneys and WJ and myself that really got to tie this down. I mean, they've done the work, I think, for the most part. Just our comments and the things that we want to see to protect the city or to, you know, present to the public is really where we're at, like trees and, you know, a few little things. I think we're pretty close otherwise.
Leah? All right, items, consider placement of future agenda. If you have nothing, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. As for Mr. Leader, second by Ms. Fox, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those of you guys have some great
Talked to Alan about last Tuesday, or sorry, last Thursday. So we had a monthly meeting with their